Hi, Shirley here. And I am today with another cosmology part in the spirit of matter. And that's just actually random thoughts. Um, I was walking today, and as I walk, I always think to myself, I speak with myself, not loudly. Um, and I was thinking about temperature and polarity and how when something, let's say, hot and dry, meet someone that's actually cold and dry. You can think of a Mars-Saturn combination. If they stay together, then there is entropy. Then their temperatures actually begin to balance out. Let's say a very young person meets a very yin person. Then there can be polarity, so there can be attraction, but they cannot merge, because once the temperature of one meets the temperature of the other, it's like no, that's a no. That the speed of Mars is too much for the slowness of the more Saturn person. We think of Mars and Venus, but it can also be Mars and Saturn. Saturn is also very yin, and if they stay together, then there is entropy, and the system changes temperature, and then by staying together, the temperatures change, and then they can create this cohesion, or that is not integration. It really is cohesion. It's sticking together, but it's blending. It's no longer a hot and dry person, or hot and fast, and cold and slow. Something happens in the system, but when those energies are people, then they are afraid to change. And then I realized that so much of us is not ourselves, basically. That threw me away to medicine. I was speaking with a friend of mine, and she had a rash on the face, but I think it was just the right section of the face. And I looked at her and I was like, why the right? Why the right? Why the right? I say, right is yang. So and I asked her, are you worried about someone in the family, a male person? And she said, well, my brother is, I think it was the brother that was in a difficult state, and she was worried about him. And so it appeared on her face. And this happens so much with medicine, that when you look at the problem, for example, if I would come to treat a child, and the parent is open for that, I would treat the parent, because it's easier to treat the parent, and then of course you treat the child as much as possible. But let's say with essential oils, there are only so many oils you can use with the child, so it's better to treat the parent when possible, and then the child is balanced, because the system is balanced, and it's so systematic. Can think of other concrete examples. What's basically our understanding, we need a sense of self within the system, but so much of ourselves is not us. So much of ourselves is not us. For me, I run into this where I think about my nervous system that is so sensitive, when I tend to embody the energy of what I speak and think about. And you can notice how, here, I just said that, and something in my accent changes, like my accent changes, my facial expressions change. So for me, it's that extreme, because I guess I'm accidentally psychic, but I'm not aware of that on the day-to-day basis. And so I feel it in this way. And I feel, for example, with energies, that it's a practice to learn how to stay in my energy and allow for another energy to be in. Sometimes there's like a superposition of energies, where somebody's energy could really take over, and I just become them, but stay me, and by letting go into becoming them, I gain me back. I also spoke about it when I spoke about activism, because, or did I? Or did I? Oh my. When I think about my previous perfection year, Mars perfection year, my previous Mars perfection year, I mean another Mars perfection year, so that was in 2017. And I think about the pre-Me Too era. What the essence of my activism was not to battle anybody, or even when I expose people, it was not about exposing them, but rather saying that the structure of the system energetically creates densities that that are hard to tame. And so when people, for example, in the academia, they compete, and so the energy is very dense, it is very young, and then people are afraid to make connections because you are afraid that everybody wants to do something to you, but we still need connections. And when there is a power imbalance, you know, let's say, I don't want to say names or tags because, yeah, you know, it's over. But when one person is higher up the rank and one lower up the rank, if that person, let's say there is sexual attraction. So sexual attraction is also power, and the person can be afraid that that person in the bottom is kind of scary, it's overwhelming, there's something imbalanced in the power, and that creates all kind of irrational activities. Also, when the system is decentralized, more yin state, then we have liberty to flow. Let's say we said something inappropriate. It can happen when we said something inappropriate, or we crossed a certain boundary. It's easier to go out of the situation. It's easier to go out of the situation. It's easier to go to another place, with other people, and not have to pay such a heavy price, whether you are on the side that was the perpetrator or the victim, because it's just easier to go out of where you're at to a place that's more in right temperature and right density for you. And that was what I was trying to do. I was trying to take these downloads of what systems do I want there to be, and why do the systems right now don't work. Also for science, if you think about chaos theory in the 70s, people were afraid to study chaos theory because no researcher wanted their name on research to do with chaos. And chaos is very yin, right? It's yin science. We try to computate, you know, trajectories and dissect it and compartmentalize and do yang work on it as far as we can, but it's a very yin concept. And people were afraid. So when you have a system that is more decentralized, you can do research about topics that without being so scared of losing your job or losing your name as a researcher. So that's another reason why we need decentralized institutions and decentralized ways to learn about the world. And this is also why I'm doing Spirit of Matter. I'm just in the middle of watching a recent Gigi Young video about disclosure, where she really talks about her story and how she began to do videos because she didn't want to feel alone with her experiences, and that really spoke to my heart. I also, perhaps in Spirit of Matter, not so much, because maybe so, like I'm so used to it that I don't think about it even when I talk about my personal experiences. But at the time where the Me Too era was, it was really important for me to speak about taboo stuff related to healing the sexuality after abuse, to all of these energy stuff, to not feel shame around whatever fantasies there are, and so on and so forth, so people can get to actually heal. And that was very helpful for a lot of people. So, and you can do it with a decentralized or more decentralized system. For example, now YouTube is a bit more centralized. You need a bit more to gain traction on YouTube. That's why it might even be smart for me to look for also other networks that are not so centralized and then gain traction. That might be. We do need centers. We do need a sense of hierarchy. We did need to sense. If you think about the human body, the nervous system is yin, is decentralized. The endocrine system is yin, decentralized. The heart, the liver, the brain is yang. Because they are centralized. The liver in Chinese medicine, I think Mantak Chia, who did also, he talked about his sexuality, treated the liver as the commander of the army. So very yang, hierarchy. But the rest of our body is very yin. Think we're 70% water. That's very yin. Yin is liquid. It's chaotic. It's dynamic. So we are more. We are. It doesn't take a lot of density. It doesn't take a lot of yang to balance the system because it is so dense. So we actually don't need this much hierarchy. We actually don't need this much hierarchy to get along. If you think politically, people thought democracy would never work. And there are many things annoying with democracy. But when I think about, totalitarian regimes, they're so hard to change, and they cause so much destruction, then it's not about killing the man head of state, because then there will be another. We don't know if it'll be good or not. It's about decentralizing the power, and then you deal with the consequences. So you can't get things done this quickly and disorderly at the same time, but you can get more dynamic, more flowy, more changeable, and we need that. So going back to so much of us is not us, we think about astrology and the planets. Now, everything you see in the world, you could speak of in mathematical reasoning as well. It might not be easy. You might need to use more yin models for math than yang models for math. And I am not good enough to know about. I think statistics and probability are more yin forms of math. They're still very compartmentalized, but there was a huge change. I remember when Feynman talked about using probability in his theories, and it was like, I'm sorry, I cannot give you, 0, 1. The world is complex. That's yin thought. And his ninth house was also yin. It was in Taurus. It's an earth sign, but it's yin. It's I might pay attention to that as I analyze further charts of people. So where was I going? Yeah. Talked about theory of flight and physics. Go back to physics again. It always goes back to physics. Is there anything more I want to say on this topic? I think commitment styles. For example, polyhierarchic is a very yin-yang balanced commitment style, but the trick is that it's hard to balance it. Because people often don't get that good of a balance in twos. You need a sense of something there. But it can work for two if they're in good entropy. It would be very codependent. Another thing to do with this entropy thingy. The state of disorder, the state of order. I think I talked about free will and determinism, or maybe I didn't. So you basically need determinism to have free will, because you know you have to densify, you have to have a trajectory. You have to, if I want to exert free will, I need to know that if I want to move my hand upwards, then there's something I do, decide, and the hands move upwards. If I say I want to have my hands upwards and there is no determinism in the world, then they would do whatever. And because I would not be able to, if with complete randomness, there is no free will. And so you have to have a bit of determinism to have what, you know, when do we say something about, when we talk about free will, we talk about, oh, the person is determined to do something. That's determinism. But for the will to be free, it cannot be only determinism. Otherwise, if it's only determinism, then I don't have a place for free will. And so it comes back to, you know, so much of ourselves is not us. And that's why we're so afraid to change. We can be so afraid to meet new people because they transform our entire system. And sort of have to give into that, knowing that when this person goes away, a part of us is literally transforming. And what we can do is add more similar elements to the system. For example, when I want to strengthen yang, when I really want to strengthen yang, I would sometimes, I have ADHD, so I would sometimes take the pill for ADHD, and then I can concentrate and focus, which reminds me that I want to take it today probably, because it's like a very yang energy, wakes up my nervous system, it focuses me. Nervous system is yin, but that linear energy, it goes in and, you know, 20 minutes and you're up and running. That balances me. So that's an anchor. Certain crystals, like my jasper here, my red jasper, the Mars, that's yang, that balances me, because my chart is very yin. I have all the waters, I have the earth signs are yin. Only thing I have yang is the 10th and 4th axis, Sag and Gemini, and Aries in that's fire. Aries in the 2nd house. So the rest is yin. And what happens when you have a lot of yin? Surprise, surprise, you become extremely yang. But that drains you, and you can have like extreme yin, extreme yang. So I constantly need to add more yang things into my life, not in the form of people, so that my relationships with people can be more balanced, both yin people and yang people. And so we can use things, oils, crystals, arrangement of the place. Whoa, it's messy. I'm not, this is not my stronger part. I had a time where I was into feng shui, and I don't remember the Indian. There was also an Indian way to do that, because I studied, you know, for my thesis proposal, I studied TCM, I studied Ayurveda, I studied about essential oils, all kinds of therapy methods, and I kind of practiced a little bit. And then I got to medical astrology and astrology. I don't know medical astrology just yet, but it was interesting. Through that, I got to, it was another perspective on astrology. Anything else I have to say about that? Individuation. Like we also need a sense of self. Because if we are only yin, we don't get that. But sometimes, wow, I am very yin right now. I was going to talk about activism, and then I skipped. I got to Feynman. Okay, I got to Feynman. I forgot about everything. Okay, so individuation. Sometimes to surrender allows you to get yourself back. It's so weird, but this is also what happens in meditation. You know, you meditate a little bit, you feel your body. You meditate more, you go deeper in, you feel one with the universe. And then you go back to your body. So this in and out of the body. So this surrender and volition, yin and yang, and the dynamics within them. It's to master this. I have to practice this. And I was going to talk about how ironic that all of my activism was about gaining individuality through decentralizing the system, basically gaining sexual autonomy, autonomy over the sexual pleasure, autonomy over the body, autonomy over our creation. That was the goal, right? But the way was like to surrender completely into the natural forces operating within me, and then the ideas come, the people come, many things come. I think I talked about it when I discussed the yin yang of that, you know, being nourished by yang when you do yang activity as a yin gender. So it's so ironic that to become independent, to become stable, to become centered, you sort of surrender to your surroundings, and you feel your surroundings, and then you ask for that inner cohesion, and then things come about in this way. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say. I kind of feel like sniffing LME. I don't know if I have it here, so I'll just sniff my own blend. So a couple of things. I actually called it Inner Cohesion Miracle Life. There's sandalwood, LME, sage, the medical one, probably lemon, orange, mandarin, LME, of course. What else did I put there? Lavender. Yeah, so let's sniff something. Oh wow, it's so refreshing, and it's both refreshing and purifying. Also something funny, you know, I have to talk about this. The people, me included, who speak about this knowing where to separate things and when to merge them, their struggle is their teaching. I know one of my, the person who was a perpetrator in the academia, that one of the people that I exposed, he was actually, we were sitting at the party and talking about all kinds of stuff, and he defined intelligence as knowing where to separate things and where to integrate, like how to combine things and when to separate things. And I was like, oh my God, definitely his struggle was his teaching. And of course, I always think of Feynman in this context, but I've talked about it. And that understanding that kind of the way it is chaotic for us is something that's very common with people who have the difficulty with the boundaries. And for me, that's definitely, you know, my struggle is my teaching, because I think about another aspect of having Scorpio in the 9th for me is that studies and philosophizing and sciencey stuff is actually root chakra for me. It's survival. It's my anchor. It's my grounding. So it's like I have to understand the core of the physics, because I have to understand the cosmology, because I have to balance myself, and I have to understand how to do it. And I've tried, you know, for example, to heal trauma with the narrative approach, and it came out as a Rashomon. Didn't work for me. You know, it's not, I wouldn't throw it away, because definitely to tell a different story, and I am telling you the stories of what happened in 2017. You know, I am telling these stories. Definitely to tell a different story is useful. But to be able to tell that different story, you need to change the temperature. You need to change the state of your. You need to reach that state of inner cohesion. Yes, sometimes changing the story helps, but there's also the embodied part. And my attempts to change the story or to tell a coherent story, speaking about cohesion, were fractured each time. Like if I will tell you what happened to me in the academia in 2017, what happened there, if I will tell this story 30 different times, it would be 30 different stories. So I don't try, I just teach you the cosmology of what I've learned from that. Interdimensional, the passage between dimensions. Yeah, this also has to do with when things go from the higher dimensions into the physical dimensions, they densify, and then we go from oneness, oneness above or below the ground is also oneness, into individuation. Now we are very much related. I began this video with that notion. But we go from oneness into individuation, and we densify, and we have boundaries, and then there's the skin, Saturn, boundaries, structure, the skin. And the passage from the above to the earth is somewhat, it's not one-to-one, because times are different. Time space is being more and more united upstairs, and so the time in which people download information is different for everyone. Yeah, people grow in different phases, and also the density of information. So you could have one person downloading certain info or making connections in the above, where the other people involved in the below are not yet there or never will be there. So the passage between dimensions, it can create funny situations. I think I had mainly one person that I could completely talk about a lot of what was going on interdimensionally between us, and that person would experience it too. And we discovered that when he would feel one thing, I would feel like a couple of days later, and perhaps vice versa. So we could feel each other's feelings, we could dream each other's dreams, and I also found out that, like, I would dream of a concept and I wouldn't know why am I dreaming of these things, and then I would speak to him, and then he would say, oh, let's say he would say the word, oh, it reminds me of nourishment, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this for you is nourishment, for me it's new. I did not know. And I think it was food. Yes, I was dreaming about food. I was like, why am I dreaming about food all the time? He was like, it's nourishment. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's your themes, because they had different temperatures, different colors than my dreams. And again, you get this, separation, individuation, that so much of you is another, but through surrendering to being penetrated energetically, you penetrate the psyche of another, and then you get individuation. This is your language, this is my language, this is your colors, this is my colors, this is your temperatures, this is my temperatures, this is your analogies, these are my analogies. After a while, they kind of begin to merge, and that can be very confusing, because we need to get more into the system so that we don't completely lose ourselves. We need to find a sense of individuation within us. Otherwise, otherwise people can get the sense that they need to step away. Yeah. And that's why it's also important to meet other people when we meet one person, because then there is always something for the system to get ordered and disordered about. There is always flow, there is always something dynamic going on. And finding the right balance between that which is dense and structured and safe, and that which is dynamic and flowy. So you could go all night, you could really go all day long talking about just these two concepts. And of course the velocity, density, and frequency that they correspond to, and conceptualize so many things. Now try to play with that in your world and see what you get. So as between dimensions, what I do, let's say I saw someone in one dimension. I don't assume anything about that someone in another dimension. You know, we can, for example, you see me here on the screen. If you saw me in person, just because I would meet you in your energy, I would probably be a bit different. My accent would be a bit different. My gestures would be a bit different. So you see me here, but you cannot assume about what would it be like to see me, you know, in person. Same thing if you meet my energy. And so maybe you meet my energy and I'm not aware of it. You cannot assume that the rapport between us on the screen or in person would be similar, would be exact. I got confused with that for so many times because I would get these experiences, and I think it has a lot to do with Neptune, because Neptune is the oneness thingy. So I would get confused like with what's going on, because I would either meet people in one dimension and then meet them in another dimension, and then there would be like, okay, why in one dimension or the energy dimension things work out so smoothly, but when I come to interact with the person, let's say even on the virtual plane or in person, then something changes there. I don't know if that's to do with the houses. For example, maybe an 8th or a 12th house could be the astrals. Here you can help me out because I don't know. And then when you go to other houses, you have other dynamics that could possibly be a way to see it in the chart. Or just understanding that things densify. For me, for example, when I come close to another person, then I tend to merge with them, and then I need to separate in order to return to myself. So it's a lot easier for me to be in the place where I surrender into other energies, and then I get myself back. It's a lot easier for me to do it in the energy field than actually the physical. Maybe it's the same concept, and I don't know, but that's my experience with that. But there's so many ways you could go with this, you know, intellectual ways, intellectual fields, medicine that I started with, you know, you treat the patient, you treat the patient, you treat the surroundings. This is why they say the best thing you can do for yourself is to heal yourself. For society is to heal yourself, because you're a part of the society and they benefit from that. Systems, you know, politics. I've covered a lot of ground in this rather short video. I don't know, what am I going to name it? And currently I feel more and more things are just willing to come out. And oftentimes I don't know what spirit of matter is, where it's taken me, but I allow myself to do things intuitively and not so cognitively, so I can keep my passion alive, even if it's a bit, you know, it's not all that raw. It's raw. It's not refined. I just open up a camera and record stuff, but I allow it to be that, because that keeps me passionate. And I, you know, little by little, I do meet people who do watch, who do interact with me. And sometimes it, you know, it doesn't take more than than a few, to create something bigger. And I also imagine that there's a sense of inner readiness for me to accept and deal with a larger audience. Let's say if people would flock around to this channel with their opinions and their energies and their worldviews, and where it meets them, it can be very, it's a great transformation. It's a huge transformation. So perhaps there's something in me that's densifying and becoming ready for that. And that takes time of showing up. And I also, you know, if you're here, if you somehow come across this video, and I never know when we will come across this video. It can be that this series will be remaining, you know, isolated and hardly watched. And it can be that one day, you know, some episode would hit some chord in the collective consciousness, and boom. You never know with these things. You never know. You just show up and you do your thing, and you never know what's going to happen. But whenever you watch this video, know that if you have that place within you when you want to share, when you want to talk, when you want to not be alone with your experience or your thoughts or whatever, put that out there. Put that out there. Because you never know who you will meet. You never know who will like you. You know, for me, if I get on Twitter and nobody likes my post, I hardly have followers and blah blah blah, and then suddenly Gigi Young retweets me, or it's, you know, it's those things. It's those things that keep you, because sometimes you would have like a desert of people, and then you would find someone you vibe with so deeply, or someone you make a significant change in. I remember when Rational Impact wrote to me about, just wrote a comment in my channel, and apparently they've been watching all my videos for so long, and I didn't know about it until they commented. This is why I ask you, comment. Comment, let me know, because I'm doing these videos, and if I'm alone here, that I may think, oh, well, I'll do a video, I'll not do a video. If I feel like it, I'll do it. But if I know that somebody is waiting for that, if somebody's not from a sense of pleasing others, not to that extent, not to lose myself, but if there are people wanting to watch this episode, if there are people going through things, following these episodes, and then I can sense that it does something in the world. And sometimes it really takes only like that one person, or that one viewer, or that someone that was touched by this, or that person that decided to do something about it, so that something good will be created in the world through that. I don't even know all of what Spirit of Matter tries to do in the world. It tries to, I used to say the word integrate, and now I'm kind of contemplating on the energies and frequencies of integrating, which is important, and creating cohesion and the differences between them, and thinking about it, because I've been doing a lot of integrating things, but something with integrating feels divided, which we need. It's a bit colder. I feel it colder in the body. This is a channeling science part. It's a bit colder. And cohesion, I feel like there is no inner dissecting. That's why I like this word so much. Cohesion. Let's do a play. Let's do a play. Material abundance is something I need in life more. I think Kelly Surtees talked about Jupiter in Pisces, and for me it's in the first. And she said it's about wealth of emotions, of experiences, of Piscean things. And oh my gosh, I have wealth of Piscean energies in my life. bountiful waters. And I'm a very happy person. I'm incredibly happy. And I'm so, I don't know what that thing is, but I'm thankful. On the material plane, yeah. So I kind of try to think of, material abundance or wealth, material wealth. It's actually very good to have a Jupiterian energy when you think about material, because you sort of land into the material with spirit of matter. That's interesting. I might do a spirit of matter episode about my chart, trying to figure out why did I come up with spirit of matter. But it's descending and grounding in a way that is in cohesion, in a way that is maintains the sense of joy. Because when I do, for example, if I went about spirit of matter, this is getting a long episode. Okay, this is not a snippet. This one is a cosmology, not a snippet. If I would do spirit of matter and think about, I need to do storytelling, I need to do marketing, I need to do this, I need to do filmmaking, I need to do that, I need to do that, I could learn a lot of skills, but I would feel contraction and I would lose my passion. And I said, I don't care if the screen looks horrible now, it will get better. If the marketing is like, I'm like a little chat that says spirit of matter everywhere, or I become more, sharing something of my inner thought, or sharing things, or become better in blending into the social media. Or if the lighting is right, or I care about the energy. And then I let it densify and materialize while maintaining that energy. Sort of like a soft landing. Because I want to remain with the sense of passion in life, not to turn my career into something contracting, not to lose the passion of what spirit of matter is to me, to remain on that track, on this energy, and densify things, perhaps slowly. It takes time, but cohesively. Because otherwise I'd get out of my body, I'd get contraction. I don't want to talk about this because I embody this energy, and there's something very open. I've been doing this for like a month, almost a month now, 20 days, so many episodes. That's a lot of showing up, but there's something open. There's some open energy to this that is waiting to meet other open energies, and create life with. So I'll see you in my next video. Do subscribe to me if you like this content and you want more of this energy. Do share, comment, engage. I love to hear you out. I love to hear you out. I love to hear what are your thoughts. I love to hear your ideas. Because one person says something, then another person says something, then another person says something, and then we affect each other and we grow together. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. You can catch me on Twitter, it's Tali Shear. You can catch me on Instagram, it's Shirley Youngblood, and I will write down below the names, or on Facebook. On Facebook, I do write Hebrew stuff. So yeah, but I sometimes write in English as well. I think Instagram is more where I write in English. Twitter is my English platform. So yeah, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.